They found him alone, slumped over. No signs of injury, no cry for help, just the television still glowing in the background, a bottle of red wine half finished, and the belt around his waist still unbuckled. His name was Walter, 72 years old, twice divorced, living alone in a small house in Arizona. And for a few minutes that night, he simply wanted to feel something again, to touch a moment of intimacy he hadn't felt in years, but instead of pleasure, came silence. And sadly, Walter isn't the only one. Every year, thousands of older men pass away or suffer hidden injuries during what should be a private, peaceful act of sexual intimacy, whether with themselves or with a partner. And no one talks about it because we've been trained to think of sex as natural, healthy, automatic. Something you just keep doing the same way, no matter how old you are. But that belief? It's quietly destroying lives. Because here's the truth most men never hear. After age 60, sex is no longer just about desire. It's about blood flow. It's about heart rate. It's about nerve sensitivity, balance, medication interactions, even emotional stability. And when you treat sex at 70 the same way you treated it at 40, the consequences can be severe. I'm Dr. James, a board-certified urologist and men's health specialist with over 30 years of experience helping older men across America reclaim their energy, restore their intimacy, and protect their health through the later decades of life. I've sat with veterans, farmers, pastors, factory workers, and CEOs. I've seen their struggles, their fears, their regrets. And I've learned one thing. Behind every silent mistake is a man who simply wanted to feel whole again. The problem is, many of the habits we picked up decades ago about how we touch ourselves, how we connect, how we chase pleasure, are now silently backfiring, causing strain on the heart, numbing the nerves, worsening circulation where it matters most. And the worst part? Most men have no idea it's happening until it's too late. That's why in this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 specific sexual secrets that most older men only discover after they've paid the price. These are hard-won lessons from real patients, lessons that could help you avoid fatigue, frustration, even medical emergencies. I'll show you how to improve pleasure, protect your heart, and restore confidence in a way that's aligned with how your body works now, not how it worked 20 years ago. And make sure you stay until the end, because the final secret I'll share is the one that saved the most lives. It's a simple timing shift, just a change in when you have sex, that could dramatically reduce the stress on your body while increasing satisfaction. Most men never hear about it, and even most doctors rarely bring it up. But it could be the difference between exhaustion and energy, between frustration and freedom. Type 1 in the comments if you're with me so far. And type 0 if you think there's a better way I should be explaining this. I read every response. Now let's begin with the first, and perhaps most dangerously overlooked, sexual mistake older men are making today, often without even knowing it. Most older men have no idea that their sex life is the first window into their overall health, not the last. I've had patients in their late 60s, even early 70s, come to me feeling embarrassed about their declining performance. They whisper things like, maybe it's just age, or it's not working like it used to. What they don't realize is that the penis isn't just a sexual organ, it's a vascular one. It relies entirely on healthy blood flow, and when that blood flow starts to slow down or weaken, the penis is the first to know. Why? Because the blood vessels in the pelvic region are some of the smallest in the entire body. That means even slight blockages, stiffness, or plaque buildup can immediately impact erections, often years before more serious symptoms show up in the heart or brain. But here's what breaks my heart. Most men don't connect the dots. They think it's a testosterone issue, or they blame themselves, or worse, they do nothing. And that's not their fault. No one told them that sexual function after 60 is directly linked to cardiovascular health. No one told them that a softer erection could be the first sign of high blood pressure, prediabetes, or early heart disease. Instead, they suffer in silence, thinking it's shameful or unfixable. They throw pills at the problem, not knowing it's their circulation that needs healing, not just their libido. I remember a man named Richard. He was 71, proud, strong, still chopping wood in the winter behind his cabin in Montana, but his sex life had slowly faded, and it shook him more than he wanted to admit. He came to me for a second opinion after a friend convinced him to check his heart. What we found shocked him. Significant arterial narrowing, not just in his groin, but in his heart. That fading erection? It was the only clue he'd been given. We started him on a circulation-focused plan. His blood pressure came down, his energy rose, his confidence returned, and yes, his sex life came back. The truth is, your penis is often the earliest warning system your body has, and if you ignore it, you may be ignoring a storm brewing beneath the surface. But once you understand this connection, once you see that sexual health is vascular health, you stop feeling ashamed and you start feeling empowered. And speaking of empowerment, there's another hidden danger older men overlook, something most never consider until it's too late. How the very positions they use during intimacy could be putting their spine, hips, and safety at serious risk. Let me explain. Most older men never think twice about how they position their bodies during intimacy. After all, these were movements they once did with ease, without a second thought, even in the dark. But what they don't realize is that what once felt natural and effortless in their 30s or 40s can become physically dangerous after 60. And the reason most men don't know this is simple. No one ever warned them. Sex education stops for most of us in our teenage years. There are no handbooks for aging intimacy. Doctors rarely bring it up, and men rarely ask. So they assume that nothing's changed, until one day, something gives. I'll never forget one patient, John, 73 years old. He'd just started seeing someone new and was excited, nervous, hopeful. He wanted everything to be perfect. But during one moment of passion, trying to relive a standing position he'd used decades earlier, his back gave out. He collapsed in pain, humiliated, and terrified that he'd just ruined something beautiful before it had even begun. What hurt him most wasn't the injury itself. It was the realization that his body had changed, and no one had told him how to change with it. The truth is, as we age, our joints become less stable. Spinal discs shrink, hip mobility decreases, and most importantly, the pelvic floor, which plays a key role in erection strength and orgasm control, often weakens without warning. These changes are natural. They're part of aging. But if you don't adapt to them, you put yourself at risk for strain, injury, and worse, losing confidence in your ability to be intimate at all. That loss of confidence can do more damage than the injury itself. But here's the hopeful part. When men learn to adjust, when they begin to prioritize comfort, stability, and connection over performance, they often report deeper intimacy than they had in their younger years. Supportive pillows, side-lying positions, and better communication become tools of wisdom, not weakness. These small adjustments protect your spine, reduce pressure on your hips, and allow you to stay present, engaged, and safe. And yet, even with the right positioning, many older men still struggle to feel desire or connection. The body might be ready, but the mind feels distant, disconnected, or even numb. Why does that happen? The next secret might surprise you because it has nothing to do with age and everything to do with something far more invisible: emotional isolation. Most older men assume that if their body isn't responding during intimacy, the problem must be physical: low testosterone, poor circulation, or maybe just age catching up. But in many cases, the real reason lies somewhere else, somewhere much quieter and harder to talk about. It lies in the heart, not the arteries. It lies in the years spent alone, the quiet dinners, the lost connections, the grief that never got voiced. And here's the truth few men ever hear. Emotional isolation can cause your body to shut down sexually, even if everything else is working fine. The reason so many older men don't know this secret is because no one talks about emotional health and sex in the same sentence. We're raised to believe that men should be strong, stoic, unaffected. That pleasure comes from performance, not connection. So when the body goes numb or the desire disappears, they blame themselves. They feel broken. Or worse, they bury the feeling and push through, hoping it will go away. But it doesn't. It lingers, quietly rewiring the nervous system. And over time, the body learns to disconnect from what once felt good. I once treated a man named Frank, 69 years old, retired firefighter, tough as nails on the outside. He hadn't been intimate in almost 11 years after his wife passed. He told me, "Doc, I think I'm just too old." But when we talked deeper, it wasn't about age at all. It was about guilt. It was about loss. He still slept on one side of the bed. He still wore his wedding ring. The moment he started seeing someone new, he said he felt like he was betraying her. His body shut down, not because it couldn't perform, but because it didn't feel safe. This happens more often than you'd think. Emotional pain has a direct line to the nervous system. Chronic loneliness and grief raise cortisol, lower testosterone, and dull the brain's pleasure response. That means even if you want to connect physically, your body may not follow until you allow yourself to feel, to talk, to process. When Frank began grief counseling and worked through touch-based therapy with his partner, things started to shift. His desire returned, his performance improved, and most importantly, he stopped feeling ashamed. But even when the mind and emotions are in the right place, there's one more trap many men fall into, a hidden belief that pressures them to perform, to prove their worth in the bedroom, even when their body says slow down. And that belief? It's doing more damage than you might think. Let's talk about it. Most older men still carry a silent pressure to perform in the bedroom, the way they used to decades ago. It's an invisible weight that rarely gets talked about, but it's there. I see it in the eyes of patients who whisper, "I can't keep up," or "I'm letting her down." These men are not weak, they're not broken, they're just stuck in an outdated belief that intimacy equals performance, that if you're not lasting long enough, staying hard enough, or reaching the finish line like you did at 30, then you're failing. And sadly, no one ever told them that after 60, the rules change, and if you don't let go of that pressure, it can quietly destroy the very connection you're trying to protect. Why don't most men know this secret? Because the world never gave them permission to. From the time we're young, we're taught that sex is about action, stamina, and control. There's no space for softness, slowness, or vulnerability. So when a man's body starts to shift, when arousal takes longer, or erections fade midway, he doesn't ask questions. He blames himself. He turns to pills, performance enhancers, or worse, he pulls away from intimacy altogether, thinking it's easier to disappear than to disappoint. I remember a man named Bill. He was 67, newly remarried, and deeply in love. But every time he tried to be intimate with his wife, he'd tense up. He'd focus so hard on staying ready that he couldn't feel anything at all. And when things didn't go as planned, he'd shut down. It started with frustration, then embarrassment, then avoidance. When he finally came to me, he said, "I feel like I'm failing her." But what I helped him understand was this. Sex isn't about proving anything. It's about presence. And when he shifted his focus from pressure to connection, from perfection to partnership, everything changed. He laughed more, he relaxed, and the chemistry came back stronger than ever. That's the lesson so many men need to hear. After 60, the greatest gift you can bring to intimacy is not performance, it's authenticity. It's being real, being present, letting go of pressure and allowing connection to unfold naturally. Because that's where confidence lives, not in control, but in connection. And if you think the right mindset is all it takes, let me show you one more secret, one that's far more physical than emotional. It's something most older men never even consider, the exact time of day you choose to be intimate, and how that simple detail could save your life. This is the one secret I mentioned back in the introduction, the one that's helped some of my patients not only revive their sex lives, but quite literally protect their hearts. Yet strangely, it's also the secret most older men never hear about. Why? Because we've been conditioned to think that intimacy should happen whenever the mood strikes, especially in the evening when things are quiet, the day is done, and we finally have time. But for men over 60, that convenient timing could be working directly against your body's natural rhythms, and even putting you at risk. Most of the men I treat have no idea that your body follows a hormonal and cardiovascular rhythm throughout the day. Testosterone levels are highest in the morning, usually between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m., which means arousal, stamina, and response are stronger during those hours. Blood pressure and circulation are also more stable, and your nervous system is more alert. But late at night, especially after a heavy meal, alcohol, or medication, the body enters a slower, more fragile state. Reaction time decreases. Blood pressure can dip dangerously low. And for men on heart or blood pressure meds, this timing mismatch can be even more dangerous. I remember one patient, Thomas, 76, who had always been a night owl. For decades, he associated intimacy with the end of the day. But after a particularly emotional evening with his partner, he felt dizzy, short of breath, and ended up in the ER. It wasn't the act itself, it was the timing. His medication had peaked, his blood pressure had dropped, and his heart couldn't handle the extra strain. When I explained what happened, he was stunned. "No one ever told me this," he said, "not one doctor." And that's the problem. This isn't a topic you'll find on the back of a prescription bottle. It's rarely covered in men's magazines, but it should be. After switching to morning intimacy and adjusting the timing of his meds, Thomas didn't just avoid further problems, he rediscovered what sex could feel like when the body is actually prepared for it. More control, more confidence, more connection. So if you've been struggling with energy, performance, or even safety during intimacy, consider not just how you're doing it, but when. That simple shift in timing could be the difference between stress and satisfaction. And now that you've discovered all 5 of these vital secrets, each one overlooked by countless men just like you, it's time we tie everything together. Because in the end, this isn't just about sex. It's about freedom, dignity, and something far deeper that most men don't talk about, but never stop searching for. If you've made it this far, I want you to know something important. You are not alone. Every man I've spoken about today, every story, every silent struggle, reflects what millions of older men are living through right now. These 5 secrets aren't just clinical insights. They're real. They come from years of listening, witnessing, and walking alongside men who thought they had no one to turn to. But here's the truth. Your body is not betraying you. It's simply asking you to treat it with new understanding. You don't have to give up on intimacy. You don't have to accept discomfort, shame, or silence. You just need the right guidance and the courage to adapt. Whether it's improving blood flow, adjusting your approach, healing emotional wounds, releasing pressure, or simply choosing the right time of day, each small change adds up to something bigger. Confidence, connection, and peace of mind. And you deserve all of it. If this video spoke to you, leave a comment below. Type 1 if you feel more hopeful, or 0 if you still have questions. I'm here and I'm listening.